Welcome to the After the Show Movie Podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Ascully and Cidtalk. We're addicted to movies. Are you? Well, I'm addicted to movies, Cidtalk. I don't know about you.
Addicted is a strong word.
Addicted like I'm addicted to a cup of tea.
Is that the before the after the show discussion? It is not. Before the after the show was kind of non-existent.
Talking about this movie.
We ended the movie. I mean, the movie was over. We came in here. You didn't even make a cup of tea, which is unusual.
Couldn't be asked.
And here we are.
Couldn't be asked. Yes, we're here. We're tealess. I've got water, though.
I've got water. We're good.
Yeah, we're all good. So that's the before the after the show discussion. Very boring. It is Wednesday, September the 18th.
You struggled on that one, but yep, that is correct.
Yeah. And this is, I don't know what dimension I'm in, but now I've figured it out. It is After the Show, your weekly movie review podcast. And on episode 857, we're looking at a new movie called Rebel Ridge. It's the latest Star Wars movie.
It is not.
It's Rebel Ridge. It's a 2024 release. You can watch it now on Netflix. It's rated R, 2 hours and 11 minutes. Netflix sent us a copy for review. Cidtalk, can you give us the synopsis of the movie Rebel Ridge?
A man snagged in what is a corrupt small town law enforcement situation when he's done nothing wrong for some other corruptible thing that's going on. He kind of Rambos it a little bit.
I'll give you the one off the box.
That isn't what it says on the box?
No. On the box it says, an ex-Marine grapples his way through a web of small-town corruption when an attempt to post bail for his cousin escalates into a violent standoff with the local police chief.
I was pretty close.
He was.
I mean, come on. That was pretty good.
You should get a job with Netflix.
I should.
Writing synopsis-os. So, Cidtalk, Rebel Ridge, what did you think?
What did you think?
I was very impressed by Rebel Ridge. Now, the director, Jeremy Saulnier, I had seen his previous movie, Green Room. In fact, we reviewed it on this podcast.
Yes.
It was a very intense...
My beloved Picard was in it.
It was one of the first A24 movies, actually. And it was intense as all heck.
It was.
So, knowing that, as I went into this, I was like, how intense is this going to be? And this movie, from the opening, I'd say 30 seconds in, it starts getting tense.
Absolutely.
It does not build up to anything.
And you think you know what's going on, but you don't. Even I don't.
It is like a massive onion with lots of peel. And just when you think, oh, it's this kind of movie, then it's not. It's this kind of movie, you know?
Correct.
Because at the beginning I was like, okay, the police, they seem corrupt immediately. And they've got this young guy and he didn't seem to do anything wrong. So what is this? Is this a police are scumbags movie?
Is it all about race? Is it all about money?
Thing?
Is it all about something weird or whatever?
Are they trying to cover something up? I don't know. I was like, I don't know what this is. And then I would say at least 5 more times in the movie, I was like, oh, this is something else now. Like it got bigger.
Right.
I guess it's a conspiracy of sorts. Everybody's trying to keep it quiet.
Yeah.
And then as it unravels throughout the movie, it gets bigger and bigger. If I had a problem with it...
Oh, okay.
Let me say spoilers before I tell you about a problem I might have with it. Despite everything that happens in the movie, the closing sequence, let me say, the very closing sequence, somehow felt unsatisfying to me.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we're going to end it right there? I'd like a little bit more. I'm not an idiot. I don't need it tied in a bow. I just felt like it ended. It just ended. You know what I'm like with things that just end.
I know what you're like, but you're wrong because it didn't just end. We were telegraphed multiple times ahead of time what was going to need to happen to solve this problem. So we know what's going to happen. And all he needed to do was get some proof or some evidence. He has that. And so, yeah, you're right. You don't need it to be telegraphed to you. Visually, we've already been told. We know what's happening. So, this one, you're just going to have to let it go.
Just felt a little unsatisfied, but I didn't feel unsatisfied by the lead up to everything because it's like a masterclass.
It's beautiful.
Starting with a small incident and that incident spiraling out of control slowly.
And only because other people are assholes.
Yeah, and you never really know how far this is going to go. Like you mentioned Rambo.
Yeah.
It could end up with people firing rocket launchers at each other. It could, because the tensions are high. And we telegraphed early on that there is, in the police station, a whole locker full of very, very big weapons.
Exactly.
When I saw that and I saw police corruption, I was like, this is going to end in this massive people being exploded. And, it's probably going to get crazy. Now, while it does get crazy, because that end scene is pretty intense and action-packed, it takes another route, which I really appreciated because it's the non-lethal route.
Yeah, that's kind of a theme is that, so part of the story is this, or part of the story is our young man coming to bail out his cousin who might have some trouble if he goes on to prison. That's all he's coming to town to do.
Yes.
He looks suspicious. Well, he's not suspicious.
He's just a man riding a bike.
But what we find out is when he gets clipped by the police and they take all his cash and try to trump him up on charge and just get him out of town, is that they have a whole thing going on where they're just trying to make money to keep their town law enforcement alive. Now, that sounds noble, like, oh, we need to keep the town going. But actually, it's very awful that they are entrapping people and using laws that exist in order to seize people's money, vehicles, guns, all that kind of stuff with no cause. So they're trumping up all the charges, and getting a bunch of cash in their little coffers to spend as they want to keep their jobs and to keep the community going.
Yes.
Not like, oh, we love the community. You don't ever get that vibe. We don't walk around following the sheriff or the chief where he's patting little kids on the head and giving people money for their cancer treatment.
You also don't see, you don't see all the people in the town going, oh, hello, chief.
Right,
hello.
we don't have that. It's almost implied, but not overtly, which I appreciate, that you're not trying to sugarcoat it. Like the one movie where DuPont moves into town. And DuPont is the chemical people. They've paid for everything. They pay for the school. They pay for the baseball. And then everybody just allows the poison of the DuPont Corporation
was that
factory.
Dark water.
I think.
Yeah.
Well, there are two dark waters because the other dark water has what's her face.
It was something water. I remember.
Right.
Yeah.
Where everybody just sort of acquiesces to it because they're giving you money. And I guess whatever bad happens, we just accept it. I feel like that's what's happening in this town. We just don't. It's not telegraphed to us. I've seen enough movies and I know of enough real life things where you're like, I bet that's what's going on here. So that's kind of the story. And then, of course, it gets more entangled because the cops are a few of them are just complete assholes. And I forget what words he used later, our main guy, when he's telling the chief, who's Don Johnson, the guy from that one show.
You mean Crockett?
Yes. He describes what his personality is. Like he says, I've figured you out. Like, I bet you've been in a lot of fights, like fist fights, and you have like a crisis, angry, aggressive mode, and that's all you have. And then the overriding thing that the chief says is, oh yeah, they want this new policy of like de-escalating everything. The bad guys get off because we're just trying to make sure everybody gets through to tomorrow. And he kind of says it in a snotty way. Like, he would rather go beat the shit out of everybody and shoot people.
He's old school.
Than to steal their money and get them through the courts. But now that's what he's being forced to do. And our main guy is like, I get who you are. You'd rather destroy everything. I don't want to destroy everything. I actually do want everybody to get through till tomorrow. And then that clashes with like this really intense physical, and you know me, I don't like fight scenes. I think it's really boring. The cars and the smoke screen and saving the one cop and all that was really good.
I mean, it's not full of fist fighting and stuff.
No, but when it happens, it's meaningful. And that's what I like about it. It isn't excessive. He doesn't get beat up or anything like originally whenever the cops are taking him in and all that stuff. But I just like it's really well paced and everything is dished out to me just right. I mean, I was literally leaning forward and like edge of my seat some of the time, like just trying to figure out. I didn't trust one person who ends up I should have trusted because I was just like, no, it's a trap. It's a trap. You know, I mean, I was fully invested.
There are some like
questionable moments
and moments where you're like, oh, it completely got me off guard because I was on that person's side or I wasn't on that person's side. If a movie can do that, it usually means it's pretty good.
Yes.
And not formulaic. Also, the situation was more realistic than some movies. It wasn't just like, here's the situation, let's have a massive all-out action battle. It actually felt realistic.
I don't know how realistic that end final thing is, but I mean, he's what we also find out.
He's an ex-Marine.
Yes, and he's also like specially trained in like
martial arts.
Hand-to-hand combat. And so when we see him, the only time he leaves a bullet in a gun is when he's handing it back to that one police officer and trusting her to not be an asshole, right? Every other gun he touches, he disarms it. He takes out the bullets. He takes them apart, throws them on the ground. We understand that he does not want to use lethal force. And I'm convinced that he could take down several people. Now, they're shooting at him and stuff. So in real life, I don't know, but I was convinced.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a good story. It's well acted. I said to you also, there's an interesting... A female comes into his life in it, and in other movies it would have been a love interest, and it would have been, and that's not what that is at all. And that also went against the grain because I was like, I think I can figure this movie out. I mean, I've seen Rambo. I've seen numerous movies like Rambo where somebody comes into the town, something's happening in the town, the police want them out. It's not that, even though it is a little bit like that. You can't help but think of Rambo when you're watching it.
I actually didn't think of Rambo until you said it, and then I was like, oh, right on.
Yeah, or Walking Tall as well, you know, those type of movies.
I've never seen Walking Tall.
Well.
I know.
You have missed out. Not the one with The Rock, the original one.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yes. Very good action movie. Don't think you will be bored because it, like you say, it's a really good...
I mean, we can't say that people won't be bored because, you know.
It is well executed as in the tension. I think Green Room, his other movie, also has a good tension to it. Because Green Room doesn't reveal its cards at the beginning either. And when it does, you're like, really? It's this? So, yeah, this also does that. It changes what you think it is. I think 5 times. There was at least 5 times where I was like, oh, this? Oh, now we do. Oh, with the part with the SD cards. I was like, oh. So, yeah, very cool movie. Let's move on to the cast. So we've got Aaron Pierre as Terry Richmond. He's the star. I don't know where I've seen him before. Or if I
looked him up, but he's not been things we've watched. So, but he's insanely good, and I would want to watch him every minute of the movie.
You're right. He's not in... Oh, Old he was in.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I'd remember him from that.
Because you barely remember Old.
I just remember people on a beach. That's it. Yeah, he is excellent in this. I'm scared of him because as soon as you realize this guy's got some skills.
Special skills, like I said. He's just like Liam.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to go up against him. And then
he's polite. Which is a little bit scary when you're the asshole bad guy that he's talking to and he's staring you down.
He's never disrespectful.
He really isn't.
He's always like, sir. He calls people sir.
Well, he did for a little bit, and then he realized Don Johnson doesn't deserve my sir anymore.
Well, he did not deserve it, that's for sure. It's a very, he's a respectful dude and comes across well-mannered. He doesn't come across as like a hard man.
He's tightly wound, though, because at one point he punches the door and yells, and he's pissed, but he does what he has to do to solve the problem at hand.
We've got Don Johnson as Chief Sandy Byrne. I think Don gets the award for most spitting in a movie in 2024. There's a lot of spitting.
Well, he's chewing tobacco and spitting. And so, to me, that's instant, like, ugh. No offense to anyone who does it.
It adds to the assholery.
Do it if you want, but oh my God, I've been around enough men. I grew up in small towns and I've been around a lot of spitting. And, you know, I was brainwashed here's a little side note for you. Brainwashed to think that men have to spit all the time. And then guess what happened? I married you.
Yes.
And you wouldn't spit if your life depended on it.
I do not spit.
So the idea that men have to like...
Yeah, I don't get it either.
Spit and chew and spit their snot constantly. I mean, I know men who still do it. I think I was sold a bill of goods. And so that triggers me in some way, for real. Like, ugh. He is establishing his dominance and like marking his territory. That's what it feels like when he spits right past your feet. I feel like that's what they're trying to have him. He's like spitting.
Yeah, he's disrespectful.
This is my territory, so you're going to follow my rules. That's how it felt. And I was just like, ugh.
If you hate this character, Chief Sandy Byrne, you probably don't hate Don Johnson, though, because Don Johnson's not a mean man.
I don't know him personally, but yeah, he does
but he's
a
doing
good job.
Good job of being a complete knob.
Yeah.
Who you just want to like.
But again, I said it could be a whole other movie, the origin story of this chief succumbing to this whole system.
Yeah, like he started off all right.
Or not. He could have been a complete asshole who did like to beat people up and all that kind of stuff, but maybe not, right? I don't know.
Right.
And then as politics and money and influences start pressuring him and his little law enforcement contingency, who knows where he either gave in or decided to escalate because, hey, I can get a lot more cash now. I don't know. So that's an interesting story as well.
We've got Anna Sophia Robb as Summer McBride, and she's the lady that our main guy meets. I said to you earlier where Anna Sophia Robb is from. She's the child actress from Bridge to Terabithia, which is a great movie.
It is. It was really good.
Yeah, and it must have been a long time ago because she's not a child anymore. That makes you feel old when you saw a movie with a child in it, and then you see them again and you go, hold on a second. Now she's a woman. What happened?
I understand about time. I know that you struggle with it, but I do understand.
So what do you think of Anna Sophia Robb?
She was awesome. She is the person we meet who works at the courthouse who has an ethical, moral compass, who understands this guy's getting screwed over, but then she sort of taps into the bigger picture kind of accidentally, and she's got her own struggles, there's a whole other movie too. This young woman who's had a bad past and now works sort of under the thumb of the court because if she doesn't keep working and stay clean, then she'll never see her daughter again, all that kind of stuff. She's got a whole other story going on. They're all converging on this one incident here. But she was really good. Again, I could watch her in every scene.
Exactly. And David Denman, I put him down. There's a bunch of other people, but he plays Officer Evan Marsden. You know who I'm talking about,
Is he
right?
the complete asshole? Or is he the other one?
He's the other one.
The one who turns out to be Serpico.
Yes.
Good, because I wasn't sure. I was not. He was playing the hard man, but then we find out he's not horrible, so.
He comes across as horrible in that first scene.
Yeah.
But you weren't privy to some information. And he was.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's the thing. This movie just doles out the information slowly. So by the time you realize who the bad guys and who the good guys are, I mean, straight up, don't you, at the beginning, that there's something corrupt going on. But you don't know why or how or what. And it's not the usual thing, which is interesting.
Yeah. It's peppered with the evils of racism and the idea that there are people who are disposable, like, or you can assume that people like her, she was a drug addict, and that she's also disposable in some way because she's like white trash. We would, people would call her that and say like she's hopeless and she should be considered like a useless piece of society or a member of society, right? She has no value here.
Yeah.
So we're just going to use her. And so there's a lot of that going on.
Directed by Jeremy Saulnier. He directed Green Room and a movie called Blue Ruin, which I didn't see that one. Did you see it?
No.
Now I want to see it. So what did you think of him directing?
Blue Ruin also sounds maybe police related.
It does.
It's beautiful. I mean, it looks great, but it's pretty functional. There's nothing special going on. There's a lot of cameras put, that's cinematography, but I think he probably had a hand in that. A lot of cameras put from POV or point of view. So you've got from the backseat of the car or from the hood of the car or from the side of the car, a little bit of wobbly cam whenever shit's going down.
I particularly liked the shot where he drove a truck underneath a bridge, then climbed on top of the truck and climbed up on top of the bridge.
Yeah,
All
after he
in
got
one
shot.
shot.
I know. It's like, damn.
I was like, is that the most convenient way to get on that bridge? Probably, if you could do that. But I would have walked around.
Well, no. He was in a hurry, and
Yeah,
also
he was
he
in a
needed to
hurry.
stash his truck for later purposes.
It also looked cool in the shot.
It did.
So IMDB reviews, what are those?
Those are reviews on a little website called the Internet Movie Database, and you are going to find the 1 stars. 1 star means people didn't like it, and they're going to say things like waste of time or woke or whatever they're going to say negative. Usually it's waste of time, worst movie ever made, what's the point, blah, blah, blah.
They're probably going to say that.
Yeah.
Probably.
The
first guy who gives it 1 star says, predictable with racist undertones. An entire white police force taking down a black guy. Snooze fest. Fanning the flames of division. The dialogue is tiring. Little to no action. Was hoping for much better. Not sure why Netflix feels the need to make every white cop a villain and every black man a victim. Very political.
Very.
Yes. Number 2 says, crap.
Oh, crap. Okay.
I've seen many other action shows that don't have any notable action and way too much talking, but this one wins the prize for that. It's good to see Don Johnson being Don Johnson, but disappointing that his potential was diminished by this ponderous movie. So that's that.
That's that one.
And the third guy says, don't waste your time. I was hopeful at some point that it would get better, but it never came. Instead, it got worse. I kept giving it a chance to redeem itself every minute before I'm hoping to get some action. But only 1% was given, and the rest, painful, boring talk between 2 characters.
I love your compassion for these people who write these reviews.
I got fed up of reading it, so I just broke down in tears.
I was yawning, so that's how boring the reviewers are.
Yeah, so that's that guy. These guys didn't appreciate this movie, apparently.
Yeah.
Mostly, they say it's a slow movie. I see a lot of that.
And that's one of the things that you and I appreciate is that it is paced out in a way that makes you not just like the rhythm isn't just hammer you with action, which is super boring. So
Exactly.
I like that.
We didn't see any extras because this was Netflix. Why doesn't Netflix have extras for movies, Cidtalk?
I don't want extras, so I don't care.
Well. All right, let's give this movie a score. I am going to give Rebel Ridge a solid 7 out of 10.
7? I'm giving it like an 8.6.
Well, you're higher than me.
Yeah.
And I reserve 8, 9, and 10 for my very favorite movies. You know?
I get you.
But I do agree this is a high-quality, tense action thriller.
High quality, for sure.
I enjoyed it a lot. So thank you to Netflix. Next week, we're going to be reviewing another movie. And that movie is called A Quiet Place, Day One.
Oh.
You like a bit of Quiet Place?
I do.
Do you like the Day One?
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet.
Wow.
I like anything alien or zombie, so bring it on.
Alien, well, yeah. I see what you're saying.
Ooh, alien zombies. Do we have alien zombies?
Probably.
I would have to look and see if there's any alien zombie movies. Or zombie aliens? Whatever. Whichever.
Movie recommendations. I didn't put any down, but I've got some in my mind.
Aye.
One is Jaws.
Okay.
And why Jaws? Well, I was talking about Jaws earlier today, about how good a thriller / ratchet up the tension movie it is. And I think that's a good example of how you pace a movie.
Is it not because I was watching Sharks of the Corn yesterday?
And we also, what else did we see?
There is a movie called Sharks of the Corn, and it is exactly what you think it is.
We also saw some of a movie called Shark Exorcist.
Yes.
Which was very bad.
Those streaming movie channels have a lot of interesting...
We do end up watching like a third of this movie and a quarter of that movie. And
For those, I'm fine with like 5 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
I get the gist.
So yeah, I would recommend Jaws. And I would also, this is a non-recommendation, and it's to do with the word rebel. And it's Rebel Moon by Zack Snyder. I don't recommend that one.
A non-recommend, but I think you should recommend people see it so they can make up their own mind.
I recommend you see it and then come and tell me what you thought of it. on Twitter.
You want him to see it and then not like it as much as you didn't like it.
Yes. And I'm a Zack Snyder fan.
You are.
But I couldn't deal with it. Cidtalk, what's your movie recommendations?
My recommendation, going back to the 20th century, that's 1900 to 1999, and I'm in the 90s, I think.
Yes.
90s, yeah. So I've got Teachers, which at the time, of course, I really loved because it was an adult teacher who was like the cool, quote unquote, teacher. And then, drama with the teenagers and whatnot.
Who was in this?
Nick Nolte.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Then we have Nil by Mouth, which is one of your faves.
That's Gary Oldman's directorial debut.
And his sister's in it, and she's in EastEnders, so there's your 6 levels of Gary Oldman.
Yes.
Naked Lunch, which is one of those kind of like...
That's David Cronenberg.
Yes.
It's
and then
insane.
White Palace, which is Susan Sarandon, and the guy from...
Secretary.
Yes. What's his...
James Spader.
Yes. And then we have Clean and Sober, which I believe is Michael Keaton.
I've not seen that one.
Yeah. And is this what it says on the tin? So those aren't by quality. I'm just giving you the list of all the movies I've ever seen.
Right.
Slowly. 5 movies at a time. Me remembering the entire movie is not a factor. Or the quality.
Right.
It's just that I've seen it. And I know that I have, and I'm telling you about it.
Very good. Very good. So, Cidtalk, Ascully stuff this week. I've been sent 2 games for review. Last week I had none. This week I have 2. So, the first one is called Frostpunk 2. And if you remember, if you're a long-time listener, I reviewed the game Frostpunk quite a while ago. It's a city building simulation, Cidtalk.
Hey.
You like that kind of thing.
I'm doing it right now.
You definitely wouldn't like this one, though.
If there's any conflict, no, because that's boring.
This one doesn't have conflict.
Okay.
The conflict is, I'll give you the synopsis of the game and then you'll understand.
Okay.
Develop, expand, and advance your city in a society survival game set 30 years after an apocalyptic blizzard ravages Earth.
Okay.
In Frostpunk 2, you face not only the perils of never-ending winter, but also the powerful factions that watch your every step inside the council hall.
Sounds like a cool concept.
It is very cool. It looks very cool.
Cool.
Cool. Yes, Frostpunk.
Got it.
You start off, it's got a campaign, like a storyline, and I did the first level yesterday, and you start off with just a blank canvas, basically. Things have happened. You've got a few explorers who go out to this area. You're looking from above like a city builder game. You can also look in 3D. And you have to start off your colony there. And we're not talking like it's a little bit cold. We're talking like it's 70 degrees below, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's...
death cold.
Yeah, death cold. Like there's not much. So you've got to figure out, well, what it is. There's been a plane crash in this area, and you take control of this plane, and you use like the engines and stuff from it to start up a furnace, and that's where you start developing your place. You've got everything to deal with. You've got to build like there are resources in the world that you can go out and get. Like there's a just slightly north to where you are setting up your foundation. There's a place where you can actually farm. But first you have to send you've got some machines that can go and they break the frost. They call frost breakers. So you've got to go and clear the land first and then start building on it. And when you start building on it, like you on City Skylines, it's not a simple matter. Because it's freezing. Try and grow a crop when it's freezing, first off. Second, every time a person comes into being in your world there, you've got to care for them. So they've got to be warm. They've got to be fed. You've got a finite resource thing. You've got to send people out, grow food. Occasionally, it'll say, very soon, it's going to get much colder than it is now. So you better deal with that. And there's settings to make the furnace higher. But when you run the furnace higher, using more oil, it's a balancing game of everything.
Of course.
And then the other thing that gets thrown in is people and their wants and needs. And then a screen will come up and it'll say, people are freezing. They've got no hope. You've got to do something. You've got 10 days to fix that. And then you've got to try and figure that out. If they're freezing, what do they need? Oh, they need more heat. So I'll turn the thing up. turn the thing up, we run out of oil. They're saying we're not going to have enough oil to last the winter. So it's a big balancing game of trying to keep these people alive.
You mean like my traffic in City Skylines? Yes. Build enough industry, have enough people, make sure the traffic isn't too much, have enough people, have enough industry. Yeah, I get it.
So it's a very difficult kind of game, but it looks cool, fun to explore. At first, you're thrown in and you don't know what the hell is. There's no tutorial or anything. You've just got to kind of figure it out for yourself. So you're looking at all the icons. You're like, what is this one? Oh, I can build a thing there. I can send some men out there to get some food. You're just figuring it out as you go. And it feels like you're being crapped on all the time. It's like, oh, this looks good. I've got everything going. Oh, the furnace broke down and now it's going to take 20 days to fix it. And everybody's freezing over there. Anyway, I built it up. It lasted about 70 days. And then I got a message saying that everybody's dead. There's just nothing. Like your furnace is still burning, but everybody is dead. They all froze to death.
Oh, dear.
I was working them too hard. I was sending them out to get food. I actually killed everybody.
I don't do that. I turn off all the disasters and stuff at least.
There's nothing on this. The whole thing is to keep them alive. So there is no turning that stuff off.
Right.
So Frostpunk 2 is out now. I'd love to tell you how much it costs. But because I already own it, Steam won't tell me. It's a full price game. It's $49.99, $59.99, up there probably. There's a whole campaign. There's a level editor by the looks of it. I've not got really into that. The second game I want to mention is another game. They sent me a key for review, is Drive Rally on Steam. Now, what this is, I like driving games. Mm-hmm. This is an indie game about rally driving, and it's based on like the rally driving games of the 90s, like Sega Rally from the arcades. So it's got like a cel-shaded kind of cartoonish look, but it's actually a serious kind of rally simulation. So their synopsis is Drive Rally is an arcade-inspired rally driving experience set in the golden racing era of the 90s. Grab your co-driver and burn rubber on iconic race-winning cars across a variety of terrains in some of the most iconic rallying locations in the world. Now, I played like the first part of the campaign, and it is what it says. It's like an arcade-style rally game. Kind of looks like a cartoon, but it looks very modern. It's got a really high frame rate. And it's got some funniness to it. Like, your co-driver when you're in a rally car tells you where to turn, like left, next right.
Yeah.
Well, the lady I chose, she's kind of got a bit of an attitude. And she kind of yells at you a little bit and tells you you're an idiot. And, it's like not... Attitude. It's not serious.
Okay.
But it's fun. It's not out yet, but it's called Drive Rally. It's on Steam. I think it's going to be $19.99. I think it actually comes out this week. There's also a demo if you just want to try it. September the 25th it comes out, so next week. So those are my two games, Frostpunk 2 and Drive Rally. Cidtalk, what's for dinner?
You tell me, because you're making it.
It's some kind of stew.
Okay.
Or stew, as you people would say.
Stew, yeah, S-T-E-W.
Yeah.
Not stew.
Stew.
Stew. There's not extra letters in there.
You say stew, I say stew.
Stew, yeah.
Stew. Let's call the whole thing.
Because it's a meal box. So you do a meal box, you're cooking a meal, and that's it. Yeah.
Cidtalk, what's your advice? Let's get out of it.
My advice is very simple, and I've said it before, and I say it to you on a regular basis. I was a nanny for a family with like 4 or 5 children a long time ago. And the mother would say to the young boys, when they would get like, Mom, where are my underwear? Mom, where's this? Mom, where's the bread? She would say, look with your eyes, not with your mouth. If you haven't already looked and examined the area for the item you're trying to find, don't open your mouth and let it try to do the looking for you, which means you're relying on someone else to do the looking for you. So look with your eyes, not with your mouth.
Thank you.
That doesn't mean lick everything. That means don't start asking someone to come and look for it for you.
Well said. Well done. So never say that to me again, because now I know it. I've learned it.
I don't trust you, so I'll probably say it again.
All right. So let's get down to the finale. We'll play some music.
Okay, then.
Ascully.com, that's the place you can go to get this podcast. You can go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram to find us on social media. I'm Ascully, she's Cidtalk. We're also on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube, TikTok, all kinds of places where you can find podcasts.
You're on the TikTok?
I do a little short on there every week.
Okay.
Nobody watches it. It's awesome. And then email feedback to me, ascully@ascully.com. Don't email Cidtalk. She doesn't want your email. And stay classy, Mr. Don Johnson. And please stop spitting.
I'm going to say think for yourself, because if you're not doing it, someone is doing it for you.